Hi, beautiful. We're reading in A Course in Miracles in the text, chapter 20, the Vision of Holiness, section 7, the consistency of means and ends, paragraph 1. We have said much about discrepancies of means and end, and how these must be brought in line before your holy relationship can bring you only joy. But we have also said the means to meet the Holy Spirit's goal will come from the same source as does his purpose. Being so simple and direct, this course has nothing in it that is not consistent. The seeming inconsistencies or parts you find more difficult than others are merely indications of areas where means and ends are still discrepant. And this produces great discomfort. This need not be. This course requires almost nothing of you. I'm going to pause here and say, isn't that good news? This course requires almost nothing of you. It is impossible to imagine one that asks so little or could offer more. In essence, we're being asked for nothing to be given everything. And in truth, we already have everything, but we're being offered awareness of that fact. The period of discomfort that follows the sudden change in a relationship from sin to holiness may now be almost over. To the extent you still experience it, you are refusing to leave the means to him who changed the purpose. I love that. Refusing to leave the means to him who changed the purpose, meaning we can hand it over to God. We don't have to fix, force, change, or correct. We can let it effortlessly, naturally unfold according to God's will, not according to our ego's dictates. You recognize you want the goal. Are you not also willing to accept the means? I'll pause here and say, I think this is an important question because we question the means, don't we? We're like, well, yeah, I want to be happy, but that can't possibly be the way. Well, God does know the way. And if we truly want to be happy, we have to let go of being right, or rather our ego being right, because our ego is insane. If you are not, let us admit that you are inconsistent. I'll pause here and say, it's never God that's inconsistent. It's us. It's us when we're hostage to ego. We know that. A purpose is attained by means, and if you want a purpose, you must be willing to want the means as well. How can one be sincere and say, I want this above all else, and yet I do not want to learn the means to get it? I'll pause here and say, yeah, that's a great question, because it means there's a lack of sincerity. Saying, I want this, I want peace, I want happiness, but I'm not willing to do the actual, simple, effortless steps to have that. To obtain the goal, the Holy Spirit indeed asks little. He asks no more to give the means as well. The means are second to the goal. And when you hesitate, it is because the purpose frightens you and not the means. I'll pause here and say that means we're afraid of what we say we want. Perfect peace, joy. Or rather, the ego's afraid of that, because that'll be the ego's demise, really. It won't have control over us anymore. Because the ego controls through fear. And if you're perfectly happy and at peace and feel safe, it won't have any leverage over you. You'll just laugh at it. Might still be there, but it won't be driving the car anymore. It'll be in the back seat, and it will be like, turn left, drive off that cliff. And you'll be like, no, I don't think so. I think we're going to stay the course. Remember this, for otherwise you will make the error of believing the means are difficult. Yet, how can they be difficult if they are merely given you? I'll pause here and say, saying, God will literally drive the car for you if you're willing to be host to God. They guarantee the goal and they are perfectly in line with it. Before we look at them a little closer, remember that if you think they are impossible, your wanting of the purpose has been shaken. For if a goal is possible to reach, the means to do so must be possible as well. I'll pause here and say that's just logical sequence, right? If the goal is possible to reach, then the means to reach it are possible. It is impossible to see your brother as sinless and yet to look upon him as a body. Is this not perfectly consistent with the goal of holiness? For holiness is merely the result of letting the effects of sin be lifted, so what was always true is recognized. To see a sinless body is impossible. So I'll pause here and say, the way I interpret this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments as well, is that when we look at our brothers and sisters as merely their learning device, we know that the learning device is here for us to learn through cause and effect, and we are going to make mistakes. And so we'll look at the learning device and go, well, you made mistakes. you made a mistake. You learned the cause and effect, so you're not perfect. But that's not actually true. Because your true, authentic self is not this learning device, for one thing. And then I would also add, if we're here to learn through cause and effect, then isn't it perfect to make mistakes? It's not my place to judge which mistakes are perfect and which ones aren't. If you've learned the lesson, then the mission is complete for that specific subject matter. And there's no need to go back and beat yourself up. If you used to yell at people, but you've learned that that's not effective and you don't yell at people anymore, you've learned that lesson. You've mastered it. And you don't need to go back in time and be like, yeah, but the way I learned it was through trial and error and cause and effect. That's okay. That's how everyone learns. You're not alone in that, beloved. That's how all of us learn whatever lesson we're here to learn. And we might be learning different lessons, but we're all here learning something. For holiness is merely a result of letting the effects of sin be lifted, so what was always true is recognized. Okay, I'm going to pause here and say this is really important distinction, because of course in Miracles is saying, we're not asking you to pretend something is true that's not, or to look, or to believe in a lie. We're asking you to let go of the lie so that you can see what is true now and was always true. You just couldn't see it before. To see a sinless body is impossible, for holiness is positive and the body is merely neutral. It is not sinful, but neither is it sinless. I'll pause here and say, like any tool, it's neutral. What you do with it is up to you. As nothing, which it is, the body cannot meaningfully be invested with attributes of Christ or of the ego. Either must be an error, for both would place the attributes where they cannot be, and both must be undone for purposes of truth. The body is the means by which the ego tries to make the unholy relationship seem real. The unholy instant is the time of bodies. But the purpose here is sin. It cannot be attained but in illusion, and so the illusion of a brother as a body is quite in keeping with the purpose of unholiness. Because of this consistency, the means remain unquestioned while the end is cherished. Seeing adapts to wish, for sight is always secondary to desire. I'll pause here and say, the reason why sight is secondary to desire is because what we desire to see, we will see. I used to argue with Spirit and be like, well, I don't think that's true because I don't see that. And Spirit was like, well, this is how it works, darling. You have to believe it to see it. But the ego will tell you you have to see it to believe it. But in truth, you have to believe it to see it, because reality didn't create consciousness. Consciousness created reality. So what you truly wish to see, you will see. And if you see the body, you have chosen judgment and not vision. For vision, like relationships, has no order. You either see or not. Who sees a brother's body has laid a judgment on him and sees him not. He does not really see him as sinful. He does not see him at all. I'll pause and say, and at that point, it's not really a matter of judgment. It's just a matter of delusion. In the darkness of sin, he is invisible. He can but be imagined in the darkness. And it is here the illusions you hold about him are not held up to his reality. Here are illusions and reality kept separated. Here are illusions never brought to truth and always hidden from it. And here in darkness is your brother's reality imagined as a body in unholy relationships with other bodies serving the cause of sin an instant before he dies. There is indeed a difference between this vain imagining and vision. The difference lies not in them, but in their purpose. Both are but means, each one appropriate to the end for which it is employed. Neither can serve the purpose of the other, for each one is a choice of purpose. I'll pause and say, and we get to choose, because we are the poet and the poem. Employed on its behalf. Either is meaningless without the end for which it was intended, nor is it valued as a separate thing apart from the intention. The means seem real because the goal is valued. Any judgment, and judgment has no value unless the goal is sin. That's a really interesting concept. Let's read that again. Judgment has no value unless the goal is sin. Because why would we judge anything if we're not trying to make guilty? We could observe, we could seek to understand, but we wouldn't judge. The body cannot be looked upon except through judgment. To see the body is the sign that you lack vision and have denied the means the Holy Spirit offers you to serve his purpose. How can a holy relationship achieve its purpose through the means of sin? Judgment you taught yourself, vision is learned from him who would undo your teaching. His vision cannot see the body because it cannot look on sin, and thus it leads you to reality. Your holy brother, sight of whom is your release, is no illusion. Attempt to see him not in darkness, for your imaginings about him will seem real there. You closed your eyes to shut him out. Such was your purpose, and while this purpose seems to have a meaning, the means for its attainment will be evaluated as worth the seeing, and so you will not see. Your question should not be, how can I see my brother without the body? Ask only, do I really wish to see him sinless? And as you ask, forget not that his sinlessness is your escape from fear. Salvation is the Holy Spirit's goal. The means is vision. For what the seeing looks upon is sinless. No one who loves can judge, and what he sees is free of condemnation. And what he sees he did not make, for it was given him to see, as was the vision that made his seeing possible. The way I interpret this is not that we can't be aware that we're experiencing these learning devices. We're here on Earth School and have a body. I'm experiencing a body. But I'm not my body. And my brother is not his body. So I don't look at his body and go, that's my brother. Oh, that's a learning device that your brother is learning with. Just like I wouldn't look at someone's hammer and say, he's that hammer. No, he's not that hammer. He's just using that hammer for a certain purpose, whether to the purpose of sin or the purpose or the vision of Christ. You close your eyes to shut him out. When we're host to God, we look past the ego, we look past the learning device, and we see the soul. Perfect, whole, and complete, with perfect love. When we're hostage to ego, we see a flawed human being who is pre-condemned and is surely going to hell, ourselves included. It's not a very fun thought system. It's also not true. Of Course in Miracles is a guide back to sanity, back to truth of who and what you are and who and what your brother is. And that nothing that we've experienced in the nightmare has in any way infringed upon your inherent value and worth. Nothing that we have experienced that we have been subjected to or inflicted upon others in the nightmare has made you sinful. Any more than a child wakes up from a nightmare is sinful for whatever occurred in that dream. It's a pretty radical thought system. Experiment with it. See where it leads you. For me, it's led to peace. It's helped me recognize I don't need to judge anyone any more than I would walk into an insane asylum and judge everyone for being crazy. No, I wouldn't judge them. I would pity them. I would have compassion. I would attempt to be of service if possible, according to God's will. Letting the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, guide. We're taught in A Course in Miracles that if we allow the Holy Spirit to guide us, we'll be guided, we'll be led, we'll know what to say. We'll know how to show up. We'll know how to contribute. It'll be effortless. As an after effect of being our true authentic self. It will flow effortlessly and naturally. We won't have to fix, force, change, or correct anything. We will simply be. And through our beingness, we'll show up correctly when we're host to God. And it won't require any effort. And I love how reminded again and again, it couldn't be easier if we let it be easy. Thanks for being here. I love you. I'll see you soon.